Welcome back to Factorio, episode 2, and it's time, I think, to do some upgrades. Now, I am going to skip some of the upgrades in this episode because I think we can jump ahead without too much trouble. Hopefully that's the case, we'll see anyway. And so some of the ones you saw, maybe if you saw some of the 0.15 series, you'll see me miss out on this one. There's no downside to missing them out, we're just a bit more advanced approach, really. So, to get this started, we did research electric mining, so we can then replace these coal-fueled horrors that I have to go and keep refueling, just like I'm doing with this furnace. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of the furnaces just yet. So I'm going to get rid of all these coal-fired burners. We don't want them anymore. What we can do, and this is very temporary, is we can just fill this with electric miners instead. We just have to make sure of hooking up to power. And again, this is also temporary. But again, they will direct insert straight into this ore crusher. So we don't have to do anything more with those. And we can do the same thing up here with the iron. That's jammed at the moment, and I'll explain the jam in a second. I think I mentioned it last episode. Let's just get rid of all of you. Makes me feel so much better when we do this. There we go. One. Oh, oh, oh. There we go. All right, and it's going to complain again because it doesn't have enough power. They're still going to jam though, because what's happening in here is it's building back a surplus of saffrite ore. Now I can take that out and it'll start manufacturing again. All well and good, but I have to keep doing this and we don't want to keep doing this. Now, what I'd normally do, and this is what I did in the previous series, is, well, we now have access to belts. So I could make belts like this. We could just pipe from these mining belts, as you know, these mining electric mining drills, pipe straight onto a belt, and then what you do, if you wanted to do the bit I'm going to skip, is you have these machines along either side of the belt, and they pull off all the stone, all of it, because we have no way of separating the two products out of here, and this is why it's getting jammed. One of the products is being taken out, the other one is not, and because this is now the electric version of the crusher, it's faster. It's 50% faster than the poor little burner crushers that I've got somewhere in my inventory, probably, unless I threw them away. Do I have them? I really should still have them. Huh. I'm not sure where I put them. Anyway, I'm sure someone in the comments will spot where I put them. Anyway, so this is 50% faster, which means it gets jammed up 50% faster, just like that. Every time it hits 200, I have to come over here, empty it out, and drop it in the furnaces. I don't particularly want to do that for long. And automation's finished, which is good timing, because when we can go on to electronics, maybe? Yeah, we can. And that's only 30, so that should complete relatively quickly. So, yeah, I don't want to keep having to come over here and fill it with coal. The other problem is, of course, that these burner inserters are also going to need coal, and we don't want that for very, very long. We can replace them with electric ones. So, yeah, and we're going to do the same over here. Have you jammed up again? You probably already have. Yep, you have. So I would be constantly running between these two. So if we're going to skip that approach, which would be, then that approach would be very nice for all of our products of our factory, then what are we actually going to do? How are we going to solve this? Well, we can solve this, and you've probably seen this in my hotbar. We've already got the ability to create an ore sorting facility. Let's take a look at that in one of the crushers. So, crusher to start off with. So let's just pop it down. Doesn't matter where, because we're not really using it. And let's take saffrite. So it takes in 2 saffrite ore, and every second produces 2 saffrite ore and 1 crushed stone. That's what that dialogue means, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But we can also then look at the ore sorting facility. Right next to it. It's huge by comparison. So we've got this large ore sorting facility, and in here we've got crushed saffrite ore. So you don't feed it the saffrite ore, you have to feed it crushed, but it needs 4 every second to produce those 3 products. We'll talk about those products in a second. This only produces 2 crushed per second, so it should be a straight 2 to 1. That's the wrong thing. I need to build another ore crusher. Where's my ore crushers gone? Yeah, so we'll have 2 of these to this one, and unfortunately they can't auto output into each other. So we will need some way of getting crushed ore from one into the other, and dealing with also the other output of this, which is crushed stone, like that. And that should be okay, because we can pull them into an assembly machine that only takes crushed stone, so they will never have much of an issue. And then in here, we've got to talk about the products. So it's every second, it's going to convert those 4 crushed sapphirites, and it's going to convert them into slag, which is the first one, iron ore, and copper ore. So instead of getting this sort of combined crush and then just smelting it and getting only copper out of it, we're going to get both copper and a little bit of iron. And on the other ore patch, we're going to get 2 iron and a little bit of copper. So both of them combined, for 2 pairs, if you like, of these, we're going to get 3 iron and 3 copper. Hopefully that makes sense. So we can just pick those back up again because we're not going to need them just there. So all we need to do really is to get this output onto a belt, I think. And we need to be able to deal with that. No, actually, no, not this output. We want just the regular ore onto a belt. And then we want to handle it by putting it through ore crushers and ore sorting machines. We're also going to convert over to electric at the same time, I think. There is one more thing we need, however, to really get that going, and that's what we're waiting for electronics to finish on. Let's wait for that to finish. So, now that electronics is complete and now optics is finished as well, we have some more options. I've replaced these inserters with the electric versions, just so I don't need to keep feeding them coal. But in these stone furnaces, we're still going to have to feed those with coal, unfortunately. We can now make metal mixing furnaces. So if you pop those in, we can then select the copper plate with the crushed stereotype. There's another recipe that takes copper ore. And we can copy and paste. And then I guess I can put an inserter. Now that's going to unseize this whole thing, but it's only going to do it every so often because there's no way this can deal with the amount that we're actually taking out of it here. And we could rearrange it a little bit to try and deal with that, but we're not going to. We're going to go for something again fully more advanced. We're going to skip over some of this stuff. So I can just quickly unblock that, so I don't have to worry about it too much. However, not for very long. So up here, I'm going to want... I've put it in the way. Well, I guess I'm not going to actually deal with you. We're going to actually do this properly and set things out. So to do that, we're going to need to build some more of those electric miners. Let's make 6, I guess. Now, what else do we need to research? It doesn't much matter at this early stage, but I will take biofarms. We do want to be able to make wood, which is in limited supply around here. So let's grab a couple pieces. So how are we going to rearrange this? Well, we're going to rearrange it onto a belt. So we may as well just ignore this for now. I guess I could make sure it's still working just this once. Because I'm probably going to need the iron plates, to be honest. Yeah, and put the crushed stone away as well. Okay, so we're just going to need to, I don't know, start with a belt somewhere. Doesn't much matter where. Probably going to go this direction, maybe. And I guess I should measure it by using one of the mining drills. So we're going to want to cover this whole area, and that will do here. So if I have one here and one here, say, then that will form our first belt location. Okay, so we're going to run belt out of here. And this is going to contain stereotype or sapphirise ore. Let me just put down a power pole or two. Put it there for now. There we go. That's the regular stuff. So we're going to need to crush it. So in that case, we're going to use ore crushers like this. And actually, I want it a bit further away. I'm going to need a space for something else in a second. And both of these are going to output to a ore sorter, something like here. But we're also going to need, if I choose this recipe, it's going to need to output 2 different things. It's going to need to also output that crushed stone. So we're still going to need one of these machines, but we can make the electric version now. I'll take it a moment or two. So as long as we power it, we should be okay. So speaking of power, move that one further out. Okay, we've got power to them all. We'll need some more inserters, of course, but in the meantime, we can then choose to say, hey, I want to pass something out this way and pass something out this way. We can choose the rock recipe in here, like that, copy and paste that. Copy is just shift right click and paste this shift left click. So I can then pass stuff from one to the other. So, I'm out of electric motors, which means I'm out of copper in this case. I'll go and get some. In the meantime, I guess we can just use burner inserters to illustrate the point. So we can just pass one that way and one that way, and they'll deal with the requirement for crushed stone. This thing will take in the crushed, let me just make a couple. We'll take in the crushed ore. So we need to tell it what recipe, crushed sapphirite. And then it in turn is going to output those three products. It's going to output slag, it's going to output iron ore, it's going to output copper ore. We can deal with that because we can take these metal mixing furnaces and we can pass them along either side of a belt. Let's say if we had a belt like here. We can put one here on this side maybe, and one here on this side. And we can have, let's say, this one set to copper and this one set to iron. I think. Is that the right recipe? No, we need the iron ore ones and the copper ore ones. Otherwise, that's going to not work. There we go. And we're only going to need half of the copper ones up here that we need iron. So 2 to 1, because we're going to get 2 iron ore and 1 copper ore out of this. And because we still don't have any way to separate things, we're going to need to just dump everything onto this belt. Anything that passes all the way through all these furnaces will be slag, and we can just box it up or something along the lines. That's a straightforward setup to start with anyway. And I guess I should just power these. I'll tidy up the power cables later. And I guess I'm going to need to insert some stuff to get started. So let me just build, yeah. Biofarm finishing. Let me go and get more copper and I'll come back right back. All right, we've got everything placed down. I've now got 4 of these rather than just 1. And because that's going to overload one side of the belt, I normally wouldn't do this, but we can do it in this case because it's going to overload one side of the belt with its output. I've switched that output onto the other side of the belt, so the second 2 can actually load onto the top side of the belt, as you see here. So there's 4 of them running. There is 14 miners, and they're filling up this belt quite nicely at the bottom, enough to get it all the way to the end, which is what you were looking for. The output is being produced, hopefully at full speed. It is waiting for a few things here. That's mainly, though, because this bottom line isn't moving constantly. Occasionally it has a bit of a pause, and when it has a pause, then that stops at second machine. That's somewhat because over here I'm having to simulate demand. We don't have anything using up iron and copper plates yet. And that, let me just put some coal into these. Yeah, that causes a bit of a backlog. We're going to get backlog from the slag. And I guess we can get rid of that temporarily. Like we can just put a couple more boxes in, etc. And we can fill them in. And here's my simulated demand of iron and copper. I've just put them in boxes. I'm not really going to use that as a buffer in any way for the longer term. I'm just literally saying, hey, what is this setup like if it's going to work full time? I just need more boxes to be able to make it work full time. Otherwise it doesn't. There we go. So as you can see, all the furnaces, as long as things don't back up, are going to take all the iron and copper off the belts and leave slag behind. Once we speed this up, you'll see more iron and copper getting through these furnaces. However, for the main time, it's fine. We can just get slag at the end. If this backs up onto this belt, it'll then back up into the furnaces. And once they're full, they'll stay on the belt like a piece of ore did, like here. It'll stay on the belt all the way through and end up in these boxes. So just bear that in mind if you do this. We don't have any other way of separating slag at the moment, so we have to leave it till the very, very end. And then, of course, we're going to get iron and copper. And we've got a fairly decent amount so far, hundreds of iron plate. So that's all working. The downside is, of course, these furnaces still need coal. And because I'm using both sides of the belt from these 4, I suppose you could just build 2 if you wanted to and keep it on one side of the belt. I'm I'm going to have a difficult time with coal. I think the easiest thing I can do with that at the moment, with that moving stuff, is to place coal something along this sort of line and this sort of line. And then we can use a splitter. Already got one, actually. And maybe some underground. Actually, I'll just move that splitter over one. So you get the idea. We're going to go underground to here. I'm going to need more transport belt. And we're going to supply coal in that way. And to get the coal into the furnaces, we'll have to use long-handed inserters. Alternatively, you could have left an extra space in the middle, but you'd still have to have long-handed inserters to reach over to the opposite belt. So you'd have to feed in, you know, you'd have to have a long-handed inserter here to grab coal from here. And then you'd have to have, on this side, you'd have to have a long-handed inserter because it's going to be one further down to grab the stuff you're actually going to smelt. So either way, or just keep it to half a belt. It's entirely up to you how you actually do that. There's no big deal either way. There we go. And one more. Yeah. Okay, what's the next research I want? Don't need walls. We're on peaceful mode. Electrolysis is useful. Chemical processing is also useful. Nanobots is good, but I don't think we need nanobots just yet. Let's just go with electronics assembly. Okay, so now what do we need to do? I think we need to move on to the next thing, which is probably our first few machines that we need to build, or at least our first few assembly machines to make stuff for us automatically, and that will be the start of the actual demand here. We're going to need to make some stuff. What do we need to make? Well, I'm always using belt, and I'm always using inserters, so those are probably my first two targets. Maybe electric poles, certainly pipes later, and splitters and underground belts, possibly. But certainly belts to start off with. Belts are quite easy. You just need some iron plates and a motor. And the motor is also iron plate and iron gear wheel. So we can make that with just iron, which is good because we get a lot of iron. Alright, so let's start as we need to go on. We're going to need one iron gear wheel every 0.6 seconds. The base game makes this easier to figure out ratios. This is not as easy as the base game, so we want to probably queue up some... Let me... Oh no, have I run out of power? Why have I run out of power now? I've literally just sorted out automated coal. Let's go and have a look, shall we? I put a coal belt down here. Oh, yes. Helps when you put down a coal belt to well, it sort of needs these inserter things to insert from the coal belt into the actual machines. Otherwise, things don't really work all that well. Temporarily, I'll get you sorted out. I'll come back and put some inserters in there in a bit. Okay, where was I? Yeah, so we want to make automated belt and automated inserters. Belt should be easy. That's the one we should start off with, I think. We're going to want the, what are they called? Assembly machines, not the burner ones, the regular ones. That's just going to need lots of iron plates and stone bricks, which I have, handily. We can go and grab the iron plate from over here. As you can see, the iron plate's still backing up. It's still not being satisfied by all these boxes. So we can just deal with that and just grab some of those. I may need more boxes to simulate the load, but since we're about to make a few of these, then we don't have to worry too much. So let me just wait for those to finish. And they're finished, so let's just make something up. So we're going to want to have, running off this sort of bus, at least until we get bots, we're going to want to have something way of automatically making our belt. So let's put down a couple of these. Let's see what we need. We certainly need gears, don't we? That's often the first thing you need. And in order to get there, yeah, that's just the research done. Metallurgy, is that the blast furnace? Yeah. Okay. In order to get this done, we're going to need power, so I guess we can put it, let's just put it there for now. And we're going to need that extra splitter I made, because we're going to split off, probably, I wonder, what happens if I put it here? Then I split to run past this direction. More belt, please. That shouldn't be a problem for too much longer. Give me more belt. So what's the next thing we needed? Belt, we need a motor. Okay, the motor needs gear wheels and it needs iron plate. How much of each did it need actually? Let me just double check. 2 iron plate, 1 iron gear wheel. And the gear wheel... Okay, it takes 0.5 seconds to make 1 iron gear wheel. And the motor takes 0.6 seconds. Okay, so we're probably going to need 4 iron plate every half second or ish, which is, you know, obviously 8 per second. That will be okay at the moment. So you can send the stuff off this way. And if the only time we need the gears for this particular setup is here, we can just direct insert from one machine into the other. Let's actually set you to the motor now. All right, and then we want a third machine. We want, presumably, belt. And that's also going to need iron plate. And let's make a few more of these inserters. So we can go from here to here, from here into here. And then we need to make more power, I guess, for the inserters. If nothing else, that should do the job. And of course, because these are slightly different to each other, they won't be fully balanced, but it's close enough that it doesn't actually matter in this particular case. We're not going to worry too much about the throughput of our belt. So the automated belt. So that should be everything we need, aside from a box. And a final inserter, which we're going to need to power as well. And we get automated belt. Good. So we can just pop over and control click and I'll get belt there whenever I need it. I'm not sure that's going to consume all the actual amount of iron that we're getting out of this system, but we've got plenty more we need to move on to. All right, next we're going to do something very, very similar. Requires a bit more working at, but not much more. We're going to produce a parallel line here for our inserters. We could try and reuse these machines and their outputs, but to be honest, it's almost always worthwhile just building an extra line of stuff to create these things. It just makes it much simpler and tidier. So to do that, we're going to put in the same thing on this side. In worst case, you know, we could belt motors and put motors and gears onto a belt to actually use them, but we're not going to need to in this case. So let's just grab those, make some inserters. Now, for inserters, we're going to need burner inserters and electric motors. They're a bit more complicated, but not much more. The burner inserter is easy. It's the same recipe as, oh, well, similar recipe, same ingredients as our belt. So we can put a third one in here, I think, and just say, build me burner inserters. So that's one component done. We'll just pass this into this into this. The other component of electric inserters is an electric motor. So the electric motor takes the motor, which we're also going to be using for the burner inserter, and it also needs some copper cable. Copper cable is just one copper plate every half second. So the electric motor, there we go. So we're going to need to get 6 copper cable, well, every 0.8 seconds, but let's say every second. And how much does the cable recipe output? Cable 2 copper cable every half second. So that's not going to be fast enough with just one factory. So I guess we could look at doing 2. So, okay, let's just go back here for a second. We're going to need the electric motor somewhere. So let's put that in. Where can we do this? This might work. Electric motor, did that take the motor as a component again? He did. Good. So we can try and share between these two. If it's not fast enough, we can put another parallel line in. Okay, so let's just put these all in. And put in some power. This should do it for this line. And then more out here. So here we want the electric motor. And we're going to need to feed in, actual motors. You are blocked, so we're not outputting into anywhere yet. So we're going to need a couple more of these assembly machines. And then we're going to need to input, I guess, into here and probably here. At which point we're going to need copper, so we may as well bring some copper down. And, oh, my coal ran out again. 1 second. And I finally fix that thing by putting in some burner inserters. They should deal with the demand quite easily for coal. So we're going to go, I guess, here. And we're going to be able to send copper this way. We're going to need some underground belts. Let's build a couple of those. And they'll go underneath this, because this is where our iron's going to come down, continuing. Let's feed in that there, and then let's build cable. Copy and paste it across, and some power. And that should get it started. Once we have, obviously, the... I'll just move you in range. There you go. The underground belt. Okay, so those should both feed into this motor to make electric motors. Okay, electric motors are being fed. Now we just need, what is it now? Just both of those together? Looks like it. So we can just put a final machine here. Tell this to make inserters. And then insert. Bring it out to a box. And we should, hopefully, be done. There you are, box. All right, so we've now got completely automated belt and completely automated inserters. They'll fill up as much as they can in this box, but what you'll probably want to do is click this and restrict it to, say, 4 stacks and probably only 2 stacks for those. And it'll continue using resources until we get that. Where is all of our supply gone? Middle belt's empty. Oh, the stone's jammed. Unfortunately, this is what you have to deal with at the start of the game until you get the more, let's just say, more options for storing stuff. So let's just put these in. Oops. For now. And we'll feed back onto a belt and push them into something else once we have a storage mechanism that can support that. And in the meantime, I should have picked up some of those automated belts. We can just continue like this. And they should be able to deal with this backlog, and that's going to start things flowing pretty quickly, I should imagine. Yeah, it's just you can see on these, it's these that are backed up that's causing the problem. All right, that should get it going pretty quickly. Yep, it's already started. That'll continue quite easily. So I do have to walk a fair way to get my automated belt and inserters, but I can fill up quite a lot at once. And for now, I guess we can see if that consumes enough resources that I can shut these down. I can just take these out for a moment. And obviously I can put them back and put things in the other way around. And in fact, I think I'll actually do that. I'm just going to try and start a production chain. So I can pick up as many of these as I actually need to get going. Ooh, metallurgy is finished. So we can build blast furnaces. That maybe next episode, maybe the one after. Water treatment is good to have. Is there anything else I actually want at the moment? Pretty much everything. I guess we should be able to put the greenhouses in fairly soon. We can get fast inserters, which is one possibility, and the upgraded assembling machines, but that needs basic electronic boards, so we're not going there yet. Let's just get something simple. The electric lab. Stops me having to burn in coal, and it means I can probably next episode get a sort of a nicer setup than what we have at the moment. Alright, so I hope you enjoy this episode. We've got a full furnace setup, fully sort of decked out with 4 ore sorters in this single episode. Full furnace line, which should be able to take care of a fair amount of input. We have automated belt, automated inserters, and we'll continue with that vein in each episode. You know, each episode I'll probably add another block to this to make more and more stuff that we can actually use, to instead of actually pocket crafting down on the left hand side and waiting for stuff. Okay, hope you'll join me then. In the meantime, feel free to thumbs up and follow it along. It should be in a playlist, I think. Share and subscribe as normal, and if you've got any questions, haven't played Factorio before, leave them in the comments. Happy to hear suggestions, corrections to how this should be done, particularly with Angels and Bobs, because Angels and Bobs is more complicated than the base game. But lots and lots of fun rearranging stuff, just like Station is. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.